and he turns the defrosters on and immediately gets hit in the eye with a piece of glass. A jagged piece of glass hits him in the eye. I handle a lot of lemon law cases, which is people buy defective cars, they can't be repaired, the manufacturers wind up buying them back, and everybody's happy. Once in a while, though, I get people who call me about other car issues they're having, quite often defective cars, that don't meet the requirements of the lemon law. And so, for instance, I tell people there's other laws that cover you, it's just not specifically the lemon law. So there's a law called the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, which says that if your vehicle or any other product you buy that comes with the manufacturer's warranty is defective such that it cannot be repaired, the manufacturer's got to repair it or replace it at their cost, etc., etc. Which sounds like the lemon law, except it doesn't have the bright line of how many repair attempts, how many days in the shop it's got to be, and it's not just about cars. And then I tell people, if it's not a lemon law claim, it's not a Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act claim, one other thing we look at is called the Uniform Commercial Code. And the UCC is a state law. It's been adopted by all 50 states in America, and that's where you get breach of warranty, express warranty, implied warranty. All these different things arise from the Uniform Commercial Code. And there's an interesting section in the Uniform Commercial Code that talks about revocation of acceptance. Revocation of acceptance says that if you buy a product based upon the assurances of the seller that it will do something or not do something, or it has certain qualities, and you believe them, and you accept it, and you pay them, if what they gave you doesn't conform to the promises they made to induce you into performing, that you can then revoke your acceptance, in essence saying, I don't want it anymore, it's now yours, take it back. And they're supposed to give you your money back. The problem I've encountered is that quite often if you try to do this and you bring a car back to a dealership, even if you've got a good claim, quite often they go, it's your car, get it off our lot. They're not going to give you your money back. So they act like this law does not exist. So I'm going to tell you right now, there's a case in Michigan that happened years ago. It's not my case, because I remember reading this when I went to law school. But a case in Michigan where a guy went to a car dealership and said, I am a traveling salesman. I need my car to do a couple specific things. I need a station wagon I can put my supplies in the back of, and I need a full-size spare. They said, we got one just for you right here. And he looks at the vehicle, and they spec it out, and he buys it. And he drives it home, and he decides to check if it's got a full-size spare. And he checks, and it's got no spare. Not even a space saver, no spare. This case happened, I think, in the 1970s. No spare. He calls the dealership up and goes, guys, my car's got no spare. What's going on? And they go, we're short on spares right now. We'll get you one in a little while. Guy goes, dude, I told you I needed a spare. I'm a traveling salesman. I get a flat tire out in the middle of nowhere. I'm stuck with all my samples in the back. No spare. I'm stuck. They go, just drive it. You'll be okay. And he goes, no. He goes, I don't want the car anymore. Come get it. And they laughed at him and hung up. The car is sitting in front of his house. So he puts a stop payment on the check that he had just given them. And the dealership's like, wait, you can't stop payment on the check. You've got the car. And he goes, no, I don't. It's in front of my house. It's yours now. They go, you can't do that. We filled up paperwork. It's been submitted. That car's yours. And he goes, no. He talked to an attorney. The attorney goes, no. You revoked acceptance when you told them it's not my car, it's yours. Come get it. He didn't even bring it back to him, which, by the way, I would have advised him bring it back. But car's out in front of his house. So the dealership sues the guy for breach of contract, saying he bounced a check on us. He defends himself and countersues them and goes, I revoked acceptance. And it goes to trial. And it works its way through the court system. Court said that man revoked acceptance because he said, I need two things, station wagon with space and a spare tire. It doesn't have a spare tire. No one debates that. And the other side goes, yeah, we admit he wanted a spare tire. We just didn't have one. Go yank one off another car. And before you say, but Steve, they out of spare tire. No, yank a tire off another car. And they didn't want to do that. They thought they were so right on principle that we don't take cars back, especially when it's in front of your house. That's your car now. Courts in Michigan said no. And that's often referred to as the spare a tire case. And I've talked to attorneys in other states, and they go, Michigan, the spare tire case. And I go, yep, that's us. Thank you. And so a court actually said, you have the right to revoke acceptance of something. And there's a couple of things they want to look at. And one is how long you had something. If you had it for a year and said, oh, it no longer suits my needs, you can't revoke acceptance of it. But if it happens right away, you got a good case. So I had a guy call my office one day and he goes, Steve, craziest case. Goes into a dealership to buy a truck. He's in a town that's one town over from where the trucks are actually assembled. So they build them here, sell them here. But to get them from the assembly plant to the dealership, they load them on the backs of other trucks and drive them over. So my guy goes to the dealership. He's looking at the vehicle, walks around it, kicks tires, slams doors. He may have even driven around a little tiny bit, likes the car. He then goes inside. I want to buy that truck, do all the paperwork, exchanging stuff, vortex of paper, whirlwind, all that stuff. All kinds of lies being told, of course. You need an extended service contract, and you really need that true coat. And so he signs all the paperwork, gets in the truck, pulls out of the driveway, turns right, and starts driving down the road. And it's a little chilly out as the day has gotten a little colder. And he turns the defrosters on and immediately gets hit in the eye with a piece of glass. A jagged piece of glass hits him in the eye. And he immediately pulls over the side of the road, shuts the car off, and calls the dealership. He goes, guys, your truck, just put a piece of glass in my eye. And they said, oh my gosh. So they ran over there and somebody actually got him and he went to the hospital. I don't know who took him to the hospital. He went to the hospital and they removed a piece of glass from his eye. He's fine. Did not get injured by the piece of glass. And he goes, I don't understand how I got a piece of glass in my eye out of the heater duct, the defroster ducts on a brand new vehicle. And somebody told him, they said, well, the vehicle was delivered with a passenger window busted out. Somehow it got busted between the factory and here. It's like a 20-mile drive. It appears, and I believe this is true, that the vehicle was on that truck carrier. They have all the different vehicles back to being carried on a truck. Somebody said a chain fell from above, swung down, and smashed out the driver's side window. Put glass inside the truck. So as the guy's unloading his truck, he goes, by the way, guys, I got one here, the broken window. Sorry, we'll pay to have the window replaced. Send it to service, put in a new window, roll it out front, put it up for sale. They vacuumed the floor. They didn't bother checking the defroster ducts. So they call my client back up and go, come get your truck. And my client called me and he goes, what do I do? And I said, tell them it's theirs. You don't want it anymore. And I drafted a revocation letter for the guy and I said, as you know, my client came out on this date to purchase a vehicle, got in the vehicle, was in the vehicle for 5 minutes, got a shard of glass in his eye, immediately stopped driving the truck, delivered the truck back to you, and I, as his attorney, am informing you that it is now your truck. It is not our truck anymore. It is your truck, and my client wants his down payment back. And they said, we'll see you in court. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And so an attorney shows up from the manufacturer, and an attorney shows up for the dealership. And quite often, manufacturers pick up the defense of the dealerships and have one attorney representing both. So when two people show up, especially with this manufacturer, I knew that these people are fighting amongst themselves. The dealership attorney looks at me and goes, Steve, this is the trucking company's fault. Why don't you sue them? And I'm like, my guy bought a truck. He's revoking acceptance of it. We don't need to sue everybody. But we sued the dealership and Ford because we weren't sure who was going to take the blame for that broken window glass. Because I don't know the relationship between the trucking company and Ford. I'm sure the trucking company has some liability in there, but my client never dealt with them. And it's kind of like I'd figure I file a lawsuit and deal with this and get it straightened out. Anyways, they take my client's deposition and my client testifies to all of this as I just told you. And he's got the actual medical receipts showing he went to the emergency room and has eye taken care of. After that was all over, the attorney for the manufacturer pulled me aside and he goes, we are buying the vehicle back from you. He goes, because we're the ones apparently who hired a trucking company. He goes, and the weird part is that when the window got smashed out, the trucking company just paid the dealership and for some reason it didn't get reported to us. And so he told me, he said, well, look, if it had been reported to us, we would have made sure it got taken care of properly. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what they said. So my client did get the vehicle bought back, but technically it was a revocation of acceptance because it did not qualify under the Lemon Law. Because you simply wanted to call a broken window a defect. It got repaired. If you want to call the broken glass in the ducts, that got fixed too because they vacuumed it out. But my client said, I'm scared of that truck. And that's an extremely important thing because there's a concept in the law called shaken faith. Shaken faith. You have your faith in something shaken. And if you're driving a vehicle and something bad happens in the vehicle, you might get scared to be in that vehicle again. And people have had bad experiences on boats, airplanes, that kind of thing. You can imagine that. In fact, I've spoken before about how I had a client driving down the road one day in his car and the steering wheel fell off in his lap. And he jammed it back on and pulled the car to the side of the road and then let go and it fell off again. And he shuts the car off and he calls and has the car towed to the dealership. And they go, oh yeah, a nut came loose, we'll put it back on for you. Do you want to drive that car again? And my client's like, I don't want to drive that car again. So that was another case I had. But the more graphic and the most explicit example of revocation of acceptance is my guy had only had deliverance of this vehicle 5 minutes earlier, took delivery of it, and got injured by it. And I don't think anybody blamed for going, I don't want that vehicle anymore. And I wouldn't be surprised if my guy went out to another dealership and bought an identical vehicle as soon as he got the money from this case. I wouldn't blame him. But the fact of the matter is that was just an extremely weird example of an extremely odd way a car got damaged and how it managed to hurt somebody. So I've had other people tell me they bought a vehicle that showed some kind of damage pre-delivery. How it happened, no one knows. It gets taken care of. But this was an odd one because it actually injured my client. But we actually got the vehicle bought back because of it.
This month of VINwiki content is brought to you by Premier Financial Services, and they are the perfect partner in your journey to own your dream car because their Simple Lease is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You'll get all the benefits of a leasing structure like lower payments and better tax treatment, along with everything we love about a normal exotic car loan where you can trade in and out at any time, always know where you stand thanks to their amortization table, and accumulate equity for whenever you're finished and ready for the next car. And Premier is great because they're wholly owned and backed by First Financial Bank, which means they have more buying power than any other exotic car bank or collector car bank in the United States, and their customer service is unmatched. Also, rates are lower than they have been in a very, very long time, so it's never been a better time to reach out to Premier, talk to their representatives, learn what you can pre-qualify for, and let them help you own the car of your dreams with Premier Financial Services.